I've been working at a department store for 30 years now as my retirement is just around the corner. I've been thinking about the right time to retire. One day, as I was taking a break on the rooftop, a little girl who had been happily running around suddenly started crying. I tried to talk to her, but she was in such a panic all she could do was cry. I decided to take her to the department store's reception, but at that moment, a sad memory that I had kept hidden in my heart resurfaced. You're not someone who should end up in a place like this. Were you brainwashed by that woman? My name is Ivan. I'm 58 years old. I've been working at a department store for 30 years now. As I'm nearing retirement, I keep pushing myself to work hard. Even so, when I saw the notice for early retirement, I started to think about retiring soon. I've always lived a free and independent life. Normally, I'm in charge of training newcomers, but this afternoon I'm scheduled to be an interviewer for mid-career recruitment exams. Got a sudden golf appointment for entertaining the boss. Ivan, you're about the only one I can ask. Sorry about that. That was the request from my colleague and peer Matthew. There are 3 candidates for today's interview, 2 women and 1 man. According to Matthew, all 3 have passed the written exam and have satisfactory resumes. He intends to hire them all unless something extraordinary comes up. He wants me to assess whether there's any issue with these 3 joining the company. I was amazed that such a significant responsibility was being asked of me, a mere trainer nearing retirement. Actually, Matthew and I both joined this company as mid-career hires at the same time. Over these 30 years, we've built a trusting relationship by supporting each other. That's why I've been hesitant to bring up early retirement with Matthew. During my lunch break with an interview ahead, I was at our department store's rooftop, which has been turned into a flower garden where beautiful flowers bloom seasonally. Department store rooftops used to be known for their small amusement parks, but by the time I joined, it had already been transformed into an arcade. And 20 years ago, it became the flower garden it is today. Now, this rooftop has become a popular spot for relaxation among nearby office workers. Just as I was about to head back to prepare for the interviews, stretching and rising from the bench, it happened. Mommy, Mommy! A little girl who had been happily running around the flower beds suddenly started crying. She was the only child there on a weekday afternoon with no apparent guardian in sight. The office workers present didn't know what to do, just watching the crying girl helplessly. What's wrong? Did you lose your mom? I asked her, but the panicked girl could only cry. Still, I managed to find out her name was Lisa and decided to take her to the department store's reception. Lisa, then a woman holding 2 water bottles in her hands, came running towards us. Lisa clung to the woman, and I was relieved, thinking her mother had returned. I'm so sorry. I just went to the vending machine to buy drinks, and Lisa got into the elevator by herself. Thank you so much. Lisa's mom repeatedly apologized to me, and in a hurry, I bid farewell to the 2 of them. While I was happy that the 2 of them had met, a sad memory that I had kept inside me resurfaced. Actually, I am a divorcee, and in my early 20s, I gave birth to a son, but got separated from my ex-husband before my son turned 3. My ex-husband was the eldest son of a well-known affluent farming family in the area, and we met at the local agricultural cooperative. I was just out of agricultural high school at the time and was drawn to him, older and more assertive, which led to our dating and eventual marriage. Later on, I ended up living with his parents, but I couldn't adapt well to the old customs of the farming family and soon found myself at odds with my in-laws. My ex-husband was busy with his work at the cooperative and wouldn't listen to my concerns. Gradually, our marriage deteriorated and I decided to divorce. However, my ex-husband and his family were adamant about not letting go of my son. What ensued was a custody battle that even involved my own family, but the family court ultimately granted custody to my ex-husband. Originally from a single-mother household, I had become a stay-at-home wife after marriage, which meant I had far less financial power compared to my husband and in-laws. Rather than losing custody of my son to my husband, I tried to endure and continue the marriage. But naturally, my in-laws would never allow it, and I ended up being the one forced out of my husband's home. Since then, I have not been allowed to see my son, and it's been over 30 years in this state. Now I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. That's when I decided to leave my hometown and came to this city. At the same time, I took the mid-career recruitment exam at this department store where I met Matthew. I was still in my 20s, and he did confess his feelings to me. But the wounds of my divorce were still fresh, and I wasn't ready to move on to another relationship, so I declined his offer. Since then, I never remarried. Matthew, on the other hand, did get married later, but also divorced within a year, leading us both to the conclusion that perhaps we're just not suited for marriage. Before the afternoon interviews began, the HR manager showed me the resumes of 3 candidates, all in their 30s. Just as Matthew had said, they seemed well qualified and capable of working with us. I was reviewing the 3 resumes in order, and it was when I got to the last one that I was astonished. I was looking at the resume of the only male applicant, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Tyler Green. I couldn't believe it and checked the date of birth. It matched the man I was about to interview, could possibly be my son, whom I hadn't seen in over 30 years. I stared repeatedly at the photo attached to the resume, but to me, who had been separated from him since he was 3, he just looked like a serious adult man. Ivan, is something wrong? The HR manager asked me, sensing something off as I kept scrutinizing the resume. Oh, I'm fine, just lost in thought for a moment. I rushed into the break room and quickly drank down a glass of water. Then, with a feeling of unease like I had never experienced before, I headed to the interview room. Next candidate, please come in. Tyler Green. Guided by an employee, Tyler entered the interview room. I am Tyler Green. Thank you for having me today. Hearing his voice, I was certain that the man in front of me was my son. As the interview progressed and he was asked about his reason for changing jobs, he spoke strongly about wanting to work immediately due to circumstances that led him to live in his wife and child's hometown. When the interview was over, Tyler left the room. Ivan, everyone was great today. They all seem like they can be valuable assets right away. Matthew really knows how to pick them. Matthew had no way of knowing that Tyler Green was my son, and it wasn't yet confirmed that he really was my son. Man, you really saved the day today. Thank you. How were the 3 interviewees? Matthew asked me in the evening when he returned from golf. It seemed he really didn't know anything. That day itself, all 3 were informed of their successful applications, and the HR manager mentioned that Tyler was very happy over the phone when he received the call. Months passed and Tyler, along with the other mid-career hires, joined our company. Tyler was assigned to the same sales department as me, working under Matthew and out-of-store sales. Usually, I'm mostly out on the selling floor, so I hardly ever see Tyler. Yet one day, a week after Tyler joined, while I was relaxing on the rooftop as usual, Tyler suddenly approached me. Ivan, strangely, he was supposed to be off today, and he looked quite solemn. Ivan, please tell me the truth. You know who I am, don't you? I was always told by my father that my mother wasn't at fault. His words cleared the fog in my heart. Tyler, I'm sorry. I left you alone and went away. It's okay. Actually, I've been through a lot too. I'm here today with my wife, Marie, and daughter, Lisa. Incredibly, standing before me were Lisa, the little girl who had gotten lost here the other day, and her mother. I was so surprised, I was at a loss for words. That's a bit harsh. You're getting a better reaction to meeting them than to your own son, Tyler said, tears swelling up in his eyes. I didn't know where to start, but there was so much I wanted to talk about. How did he know I was here? What kind of life had he led all these years? A few days later, I was invited to Tyler's apartment. Hello, Lisa greeted me energetically, remembering who I was. Lisa, we're going shopping, Marie said kindly, leaving Tyler and me alone. She's a wonderful wife, isn't she? I complimented, and Tyler blushed shyly. Then he told me about his life. By the time he was old enough to understand, he was already living a life without a mother. He was raised by strict grandparents and a father who was passionate about his work. He graduated from a national university and joined a major trading company. It was around that time that he met Marie. Marie had grown up in a single-mother household, raised by her mother who worked hard on her own. She worked part-time at a cafe while attending night school where she met Tyler, who fell in love at first sight. The two of them dated and nurtured their love. Years later, when they went to his family home to announce their marriage, his grandparents vehemently opposed it, citing mismatched family backgrounds. Tyler's father remained neutral, not taking any sides and saying nothing. I was disappointed once again in my ex-husband, who was just like before. Nevertheless, Tyler defied his grandparents and chose to live with Marie. Eventually, they had a child and Lisa was born. During that time, when his father fell and was hospitalized, Tyler first learned about his estranged mother at the hospital. Knowing he didn't have much time left, his father told Tyler to take Marie and Lisa and flee far away. My ex-husband had passed away the previous year. This town was also Marie's mother's hometown, and it turned out that Tyler had discovered. Certainly, here's the text punctuated and formatted into short paragraphs. I was living in this city by chance, feeling it was fate, Tyler said. He found the job listing at the department store where I worked and decided to apply, leading to our unexpected reunion. This covers the general course of events, but it will probably take much more time to cover the 30 years of void. However, the reunion with my son seemed to snap something inside me, and I became resolute in my decision to quit the department store. When I told Matthew about everything that had happened, he was visibly shocked, displaying an expression I had never seen before. It's like something out of a cartoon happening in real life. Matthew, who had known me for a long time, was aware that I was divorced and had a son, but understanding that his subordinate was that very son must have been awkward for him initially. I was worried about this, but it turned out to be unnecessary. Tyler, utilizing his knowledge and experience from his previous job in a training company, was performing well in the out-of-store sales department. Meanwhile, I was busy with my resignation, setting the date, and wrapping up my pending tasks. Marie had offered me to live with them, but I planned to stay active for a while longer and was living close enough to visit them easily, so I declined, choosing to enjoy my independent life. On the day before my retirement, I was suddenly called to the department store's reception. There stood an elderly couple turning to look at me. I was surprised to see them. "Oh, Ivan, it's been a while. We never expected to find you here." It was Tyler's grandparents, my former in-laws. "You both seem well," I replied cautiously. "By the way, Ivan, did you fill Tyler's head with strange ideas? We loved and cherished him so much." Tyler's grandmother shouted angrily. Tyler's arrival in this city seems to be misunderstood by my former in-laws as all being part of my scheme. In the middle of the busy department store, my former in-laws continued to berate me. Then Tyler arrived. "Grandpa, Grandma, please don't make a scene here," he said. "What are you saying? You're not someone to end up in a place like this. You even declined an overseas transfer, quit your job. It's all because of this woman's brainwashing, isn't it?" Against their relentless tirade, the receptionist intervened. "The president is waiting for you upstairs in his office. I will escort you there." Muttering complaints under her breath, my former mother-in-law boarded the elevator. They're probably going to complain to the president and try to take Tyler back with them. When I knocked and entered the president's office, Matthew was waiting there. Matthew had recently been promoted to the new president, but my former in-laws, unaware of such a development, bitterly complained about me. Matthew listened silently until their rant was over and then said, "Is that all you wish to say? The very Ivan you've been criticizing is set to become the next executive vice president, a talent of such caliber. I would appreciate it if you stopped belittling our valuable employee." Her an executive vice president? My former mother-in-law's voice cracked with astonishment. Then she quickly changed her tune. "If Ivan's education and family background had matched our household, none of this would have happened. That's why we made sure Tyler received a proper education. Hyan, you're becoming the executive vice president. Enough. Leave now. My father died regretting he couldn't protect my mother, all because of you. Tyler, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. He then expelled the grandparents who had raised him. Being reproached by their beloved grandson, they both left the room with drooping shoulders. The following day, as planned, I left the department store. Naturally, the tale of becoming an executive was a spur-of-the-moment fabrication by Matthew, but his promise to prepare a significant position for me if I stayed was genuine. Still, I politely declined and now help out at a friend's florist shop occasionally. Dining with Tyler and his family, enjoying peaceful days, the only change from before is my relationship with Matthew. We now dine without discussing work, and every morning he stops by the florist where I work to buy flowers for his office. As we both approach our 60th birthdays, we reflect on the long time we've shared despite various failures. Once I had rejected his advances, but over these 30 years, no other man but him has touched my heart. I'm thinking of spending the rest of my life with him, so this time I plan to be the one who says, "Hey, I really think it's about time you bought me a ring." I wonder what kind of face Matthew will make. The anticipation is quite unbearable.